Now let's return to education. As I mentioned to you earlier, today we'll be talking about some protests at the Ghana Institute of Journalism. Well, the students there have been protesting the school's directive to them to defer their courses to next year. That's for those who were not able to pay their fees and register. The directive follows the inability of these students to meet that deadline for payment of fees and subsequently the registration, as I said. But the students say that management is being unfair to them and wants the directive reversed. Manuel Kranting was therefore also be touching base, by the way, with the management of the school, which has released a statement this afternoon in which it says deferment must not be seen as a punishment. But look at the reports Manuel put together.
And so the students of the Ghana Institute of Journalism are currently blocking the entrance to the premises of the school. Well, they are here in protest of a directive from the management of the institution, essentially asking that students who have missed the deadline for registration to defer their courses. Well, the university, if you like, the institution works with a protocol that students would have to pay their fees, register for their courses, so they are able to sit for exams. This time around, some of the students missed that deadline and so were unable to register in time. That is what has brought us here after the management asked that if they were not able to register and get their courses online, then they must defer. And so a lot of them seem really agitated. We'll get a bit close and speak to some of them.
Right after they brought their petition to management came up with a communique that students who actually delayed in paying their school fees should defer for a year. It is totally bad. It is inhuman. You need to come out and speak with us. We've been here. They are inside. They are scared of coming out to meet with the student body. What are you hiding? Why are you afraid? You went to that meeting with no student board involved in that meeting. You went in there, decided on what you want to do. You came out to tell us, go home for a year. Go home and do what?
Aside this increment of fees, online problems and resource challenges that students are facing, we don't want management to address all those issues and to stop all the measures that, even looking at the recent measures that management came to introduce. They are saying that students should defer without informing students that this is the consequences of you paying your fees late. Students are not aware. You go and pay, you come and do your assignments, do IAs and everything, stress, online exams and all that. And management just came for
just change it. You should just rescind that decision. Well, let's get a bit closer and speak to a few more of the students who are here. I see this gentleman, he's covered his entire face, leaving only his eyes. What are you here? What is your issue? Didn't you know that if you don't pay early and register, you're going to defer?
You see, we knew that if you don't pay early, we are going to defer. We've known that since, okay, fine. But then the issue is, it was in a pandemic season. What's the name? How should I put it? See, any wise institute, they will know that, oh, we are in a pandemic season. People's parents lost their jobs. People lost their jobs. The economy was tight. No one was going, no one was coming. There was nothing on table. You understand? People's parents, they were struggling to feed. You understand? But then you see, the thing is that any sensitive institution, any wise institution, will say that. Fine. It is that any wise institution will know that, oh, this and this and this and that. So you reduce school fees. They rather came to increase school fees. We didn't talk. We didn't say anything. And then after we paid, the issue is that even people paid, you understand, people have paid 100%. But because they didn't register before the deadline, you are telling them that they shouldn't write examination.
Why would you pay and not register before deadline?
Okay, fine. The issue is that people didn't have money, like I explained.
You had paid. So if you had paid and you didn't register?
Fine. But I think that some has paid, right? And their system doesn't work. It happened in 2018. It was the same thing that happened.
What explanation has the police given to you at this moment? What explanation has it given to you?
So far, what they say is that management has called on our executive to meet them, and so we are waiting on the response that will come from the management before they could take any action.
But that meeting can happen without you massing up here like you have. Why are you massing up?
This is our main campus, and the meeting is taken at the new campus, and so we expect that our presence at the main campus should deter them. We are actually serious about the steps that we are taking, and that's why we are present at our campus.
They should have that dialogue for long. They didn't have that dialogue, and why are they calling for us now? They are standing here and not going
anywhere.
Okay, so he's just telling me that they are not going anywhere if the police officials are not going to allow them inside. They are also not leaving here.
By convention, if a student pays after the deadline, the student is required to pay a penalty of 200 cedis. You understand? So even if you miss the deadline, you still have an opportunity, okay, to pay a penalty of 200 cedis and get registered onto the portal. And these students have been following up on this from 26th of February until yesterday, when this directives came out that they should defer, and which is so unconventional.
It's so unconventional. It's not happened before. But did you put your grievances to the management?
We sent a petition to management yesterday. We've not had any reply from them. As we speak, we have 3 of our colleagues in a meeting. We have 3 of our colleagues in a meeting with management. We are waiting for the outcome. Then, after that, we'll know what to do next.
Great. Thank you very much. Well, so there's a meeting that's currently ongoing. I'll just bring in this gentleman who is actually having to defer for the second time. This gentleman, missed the deadline for the first time and went away from the school, came back this year, and is having to defer again. Tell us, you've missed it before. How are you missing it again?
I just don't even know what to say at this point in time, because last year I was supposed to join my colleagues and graduate, but because of these same financial constraints, we weren't able to register. And now that we deferred willingly, we have come back saying that we want to continue the course. They are telling us to defer because of late registration. I personally didn't register after the deadline. I had paid my fees, everything intact. But selection of the courses to make sure I had everything intact was the problem. And here, communication is very bad. Sometimes even you have to be going up and down just to hear a positive response from them when you put a petition to them. Please understand.
So financial constraints got you to miss the deadline last year, and you've missed it again because of financial constraints.
Yes, please.
What are you going to do now?
Right now, I don't know, but I wish they would open a portal for us to register and then continue, because it's very painful. Other than that, our dreams will be shattered.
So he's making the point that their dreams may be shattered if this particular directive is allowed to hold. But he's not alone. There are a couple others just like him who missed the deadline years ago and have missed it again, giving you a picture of the sort of financial constraints that some of the students go through to be able to, pay their fees. What's your name?
Metal Belinda.
Talk to me. How did you miss your first deadline?
Yeah, it was because of financial problems. We couldn't afford to pay our fees because our parents wasn't able to fend for all of us. And then we go through all these things and all we get is another deferral again. We don't want to defer again. That is why we are here.
But there are two successive reviews. You could have taken advantage of that, no?
Come again.
There were 2 successive reviews in deadlines. You could have taken advantage of them.
Well, yeah, we did that. They gave us a deadline. We did it. But then registering was a problem because there was other courses that had to crash. Because we didn't come on time, we weren't able to choose our groups well. And that was something that affected us. Do you get it? So it wasn't our fault that we delayed in our registration. We were able to register like 1 or 2 courses. Then the 3rd, 4th, 5th said we couldn't register.
It's not your fault.
It wasn't my fault.
That's what they are alleging, that it's not their fault, but they're having to bear the brunt of the repercussions anyways. And that's a situation here from the Ghana Institute of Journalism. There's a meeting that's currently ongoing between some select leaders of the students and then the management of the school in the other premises of the school, which is at Jowlu. So we are monitoring that meeting also, and we'll bring you updates on what comes out of that meeting.
Manuel Granting put that together. Joining me via Zoom is Head of Public Relations for the Ghana Institute of Journalism, Daniel Machato. Mr. Machato, thank you very much for your time. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, my sister.
Right. So, first of all, this is pretty unprecedented. I've studied in our school for 4 years. We never saw this happen. The last time as a part of the SRC, we tried to do something like that. The authorities managed to change our mind. They're saying you are being insensitive to the plight of students. That's why this is happening.
I should say that it's unfortunate for us students to say that, because in actual fact, if you study the press release we gave out this afternoon, you realize that the management of the institute has done a lot for the students. I think I'll begin from when registration for the academic year 2020-2021 academic year actually began. We opened the portal for registration somewhere in September 2020 as we were preparing for normal academic life to resume after the COVID pandemic. So it was in September that registration actually began, and when finally the president announced that tertiary institutions could start normal academic work on the 9th of January, we actually had to extend registration from 26th of December 2020 to the 8th of January, so that by the 9th of January, school could begin. So 9th was actually the first deadline, and after registration went on for some time, we realized that a lot of the students had not been able to pay their school fees and subsequently register for the academic year. So management decided again to postpone, to extend the registration to the 3rd of February 2021. And then when that extension also expired, we realized that things were difficult because of the pandemic. And due to the exigencies of the time, management decided again to extend again to 25th of February 2021. So in all there, we actually witnessed about 4 different postponements of registration deadlines. And when you put that together from somewhere around in September up till 25th February, when we finally decided to not extend again, there were 24 weeks. There was a 24-week period for our students to get registered for the 2020-2021 academic year. And for the first time, there was nothing like penalty payment for people who registered late.
Typically, how many weeks would you give for registration, which is why 24 weeks is extraordinary?
Typically, students would have just about a month from when school resumes to register, and then maybe an additional 2 weeks where students would have to pay a penalty for late registration. But because of the pandemic and the exigencies of the time, it took 24 weeks. Students had a 24-week period, which is unprecedented, to register. And like our communique stated, registration forms a very important part of every tertiary institution's academic procedures, because it is only after registration that the school is able to do a proper allocation of lecture halls and is able to draw up the timetable, lecture timetable, so that students do not have their lectures clashing. And then finally, the final examination, where students would have to sit for their final, like their examinations for the semester. So if students do not register, and as we speak, we just have about a week to examination, and we still have students who have not registered. It doesn't happen anywhere in fact, in even the Western world. It doesn't happen anywhere.
But you do know, Mr. Machato, you do know, Mr. Machato, that there are several schools that are doing very unprecedented things. Some are waiving examinations. I mean, so many things are being changed because of the pandemic. But let me just ask you, what's the problem with the when it comes to your portal? Because most of them were talking about how difficult it is to choose the courses. And they say that some of the courses were clashing, which is why it took them some time to be able to make a decision. Part of the reason why they couldn't finish the registration.
All students who had issues with the portal and could not register as a result were not affected by this deadline. So if you had paid your school fees...
I just spoke to some of them who say they were affected.
There isn't a case like that. There are even cases where students pay their school fees, attempt registering, but are not able to do that, and did not even know that they did not submit their registration. But the Academic Affairs Directorate is able to notice that this person paid, started the registration, but actually forgot to submit the registration. They had to finish the registration for such a crop of students. So there were initially challenges. I wouldn't call them challenges. It was because the system was quite new to them. But as time went on, the 24-month period, week period, was enough for the Academic Affairs Directorate to rectify all the challenges and ensure that students who had duly paid their school fees and registered before the 25th of February deadline were duly registered. So any students who paid at least about 60% of their school fees before 25th qualify to sit next week's examination.
Okay, two quick things, Mr. Machato. We were told this morning that you were in a meeting with the executive of the Student Representative Council. What is the outcome of that meeting?
Yeah, so it's true. The principal officers of the institute met some selected student leaders. And what came out of the meeting was that, this decision was taken by a larger group of management. So the bigger management, the larger group of management were going to meet probably by tomorrow and then decide on what to do with the concerns of our students. So probably by close of day tomorrow, we should have something very positive. Whether I can't tell, but there should be some statement from management on the issues raised by the students.
From where you sit, do you get an indication that they demand by the students to have the decision for them to defer reviewed?
It is difficult to say yes or no, because like I mentioned, registration is a very important aspect of every tertiary institution's processes. So once we are just about a week to examination, I suppose that the Academic Affairs Registry would have put in place a lot of measures for exams to take off very successfully. So I am unable to say that the concerns of the students are going to actually go on as they want it to be. But let's hope for the best, because it is the wish of the institute that all our students will be able to get registered and then sit for their examination. That's what we wish. We do not wish them anything bad. Okay,
I've run out of time, so I'll leave it here. But one key thing they mentioned is that communication seemed to be very poor on campus, and perhaps that's something that authorities want to look into.
I wouldn't accept that, because all these postponements that have gone on from the 26th of December to the 8th of January to 3rd February to 25th February, if you go to the institute's, even our social media pages, you would see notices from the Public Affairs Unit to that effect. So every communication that needs to get to students, we do that. So I wouldn't accept that communication in GIJ is bad. I think things have even become better lately.
Well, perhaps given that this is a new system, as you said, which may have some challenges, you might want to give it some more time than the 24 weeks so that people can adjust, given that we are in a pandemic. That's just by the way. But I'll say a very big thanks to you. I see you want to add a few things there. If you want to make it 30 seconds for me, I'll be grateful.
Oh, I think I'm fine. That's okay.
Great. Thank you very much for your time. Daniel Machato is head of public affairs for the Ghana Institute of Journalism, my alma mater. By the way, the students have been protesting. Well, let's listen to Dr. Clementa Park, who is Member of Parliament for Busa South. He's been calling on management of the school to rescind the decision.
The impact of COVID-19 has had implications, for which reason even government is seeking for the support of the citizens. So if the students have paid their fees, and even if they had not paid and were allowed to register and have studied, prepared, willing, and have the right frame of mind to write their exams, for the management of the institution to tell them that they should defer, I don't think it is fair. I would say that they should be allowed to write their exams, and even when there are conditions that will mandate the authorities to hold students accountable for non-payment of fees, that can be done. The students are not going to run away. They will write. Some of them are continuing students. Some may be final year students. Even for the final year students, they will certainly come back to take their certificates. You can hold them accountable. But to say that they should not write their exams, I don't think it is fair at all. And I would want to implore management to revise its decision, because this is our future. These are the young men and women who are going to carry the burden of this country on their shoulders. The whole world over, these are normal times. So management ought to exercise some level of magnanimity. Management should be able to reach out halfway, considering what we have all gone through and are yet to recover, we should not be putting extra burden, distress, and pressure on young men and women. Look, the country is teetering on a crisis. Young men and women need sanity.
Exactly.
They have done well till today. We should not pile up any more pressure on them. It is not about fairness. It's about doing what is right
Exactly.
at this material moment.